Hi, my name is Nick Geidner. I'm from the School of Journalism and Electronic Media, and I'm going to be talking about a project that I run in the school called Land Grant Films. And we use experiential learning to teach our students documentary journalism. And so what I want to start with is talking about a little bit about what I mean by experiential learning, because I think it gets overlapped with a number of related concepts like service learning and like project-based learning. But really, I think experiential learning is a distinct thing, and I think it's really important, especially in our field, journalism, because we do a lot of projects where students are doing things that are sort of like real world in our classrooms. And so experiential learning, for me, I use this definition. It's the teaching of fundamental concepts and theories through real world professional application. And so I really think it's important to think of that real world and professional word, and how that makes that distinct from other types of classroom teaching that we're doing. And so often, I'm trying in my classroom to create a simulation of the real world, make my students feel like they're doing something real, but they're not. That's the difference with experiential learning. With experiential learning, you're actually creating an environment that is the real world, where there's real world consequences. And I think one of the important things about that is trying to create professional output, things that can stand up in the professional marketplace. And so what I'm going to talk about mostly is a project that we did, a documentary called Reaching Recovery, where we told the story of opiate-addicted mothers in East Tennessee and their struggles with trying to find recovery, trying to find treatment facilities, and having to deal with the Tennessee fetal assault law. And so with this project, we had a real-world project. This was a documentary. We had an agreement with WBIR to air it as part of an hour-long special on their air. And it was a professional output. And so as a real-world project, my students, like Abby Bauer here, she was a freshman at the time, she actually interviewed our main character, Brittany Hudson, and she had real-world responsibility. If she would have failed, if she would have screwed up the interview badly, that would have horribly affected our documentary. And when she was doing that interview, we already had the agreement with WBIR to air this. And so she knew the responsibility. And so this wasn't an in-class project where things can sort of go wrong and you'll be fine. This was a thing where we were all counting on her to nail that. And I don't think we can do these big projects with professional output without having good community partners. And I think that's one of the things that really helps experiential learning. And so we had two, WBIR and Metro Drug Coalition. And I want to focus on Metro Drug Coalition because they were really our producing partner. And Deb Huddleston, a graduate of CCI, was our main contact. We met with her multiple stages throughout the process. And we really worked with her to produce this thing. And I think it's really important that if you're going to go out and try to do an experiential learning project, that you really have a person like Deb. Because these projects take a lot of time. Not just your time or my time, but also the students' time and everybody's time. And usually we're doing these during a semester. So we only have 15 weeks to get this kind of professional output done. And without someone like Deb, without a good community partner, you can't do it. But you can't think of your community partner as a one-sided relationship. You're not just pulling things from them. They need to gain something from it too. It needs to be a symbiotic relationship between you and your community partner. And so with Metro Drug, we really sat down with them and had long conversations with Deb and with Karen Pershing, the executive director, to come up with what they needed. And they really needed video assets that they could take out into the community to educate people about neonatal abstinence syndrome and opiate addiction. And we wanted a character-based documentary focusing on a social justice issue. And so we came away with this idea for this documentary. And that was me and my community partner. But I think an important caveat is when designing an experiential learning project, you have to think of your students. It needs to be something that they're going to buy into because it is a big time commitment for all three of you. And so when you're going back and working with your community partner, I really think one of the things that we really need to focus on is clear communication. And so when we sat down with Metro Drug Coalition, we really set up some ground rules from the beginning. We wanted to explain to them what we were going to produce for them. We were going to produce a documentary. We weren't going to do commercials. We weren't going to do other promos for them. We were producing a documentary. And then they also told us what kind of support they could actually provide. They told us about the connections that they could make. And we really talked about that and negotiated what we'd both get out of this project. As journalists, we also really said right up front, when it comes to the documentary, we have final cut. We have full editorial control. And that's a thing that's really important in our field. And so we wanted to have that conversation up front. And so when working with community partners, I really think the most important part is communication and being clear about what you're going to produce. But I think you also have to remind your community partner throughout the process that this is a learning process. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be things that go right. There's going to be things that go wrong. And that brings me to my last point, which is really the most important part of this, is keeping the line of communication open between you and your community partner. Me and Deb became best friends through this process. I was emailing her so much. And because of that, we were able to produce a documentary that was viewed by 37,000 households in Knoxville and has won numerous awards and been screened at film festivals. And they were able to get a product that they could go out and use in the community. And you can go see that film at landgrantfilms.com or .org. And pay attention for our upcoming film, which is 7 Days in America, which we did with Bridge Refugee Services and follows a Burundian family as they resettle in Knoxville. Thank you.